Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen monthly report compiled in August, looking at all the Star Citizen various offices and studios and what they've been up to this month, as well as some other important headlines from the month. If you would like to see the latest news, check out my Star Citizen news every Saturday, but let's see what each of the studios have been working on. Let's check out what the Foundry 42 Frankfurt studio have been doing over the last few weeks. Throughout all the different departments, there's been loads of polish and finalisation of systems and optimisations and all that sort of jazz for Star Citizen Alpha 3.0. That kind of goes without saying, although we did just say it. VFX have been improving the existing systems for 3.0, as well as doing a final polish and tests on vehicles and ships there. They've added new airlock effects for both the high-tech and low-tech airlocks. The weapons team have been getting the Gemini L86 ballistic pistol bearing P4AR, and all the reworks, basically, for the legacy weapons done for Alpha 3.0. For ships, they finished the Klaus & Werner laser repeater size 1 to 3, and the Apocalypse Arms ballistic scatterguns size 1 to 3 again, and now they've started on the size 4 to 6 laser repeaters there. Tech Art have finished various animation implementation tasks for the usables and cinematics, and have continued to debug weapon animations. Adjustments have been made to weapon rigs to make them feel more realistic. They now have better support for exporting objects from Maya, and have been working on ground alignment for the game as well. Programming have been working on the weapon system 2.0, as well as doors, airlocks and elevators, getting them working and extra polished. They've added the ability to hide weapons from the first-person view in ADS or inbound sights. They can now apply weapon skins and have the tech to support it in-game ready now, so they can apply weapon skins to weapons. Hopefully we'll see that in the game pretty soon. The AI guys have been working on the mission system features for Alpha 3.0, as well as Squadron 42 Episode 1. They've adapted the mission broker to support multiple players accepting the same mission at the same time, as well as asymmetrical missions for multiple player missions, and lots of things happening that will have crossovers for missions and that sort of stuff. They've added support for takeoff and landing of AI ships, including the landing pads, ship hangars, other ships and more. They've added quantum travel functionality for the new AI subsumption stuff. Subsumption AI now also supports using nav splines and the new entering exit behaviours. More importantly, or very importantly, they finished the second buddy AI sprint. This is basically the functionality for having an AI companion that will intelligently assist the player in combat and follow you around. The engine team have improved the handling of GPU crash reporting, as well as started on the new road system and tool sets to work in conjunction with planetary tech, the terrain there, features and structures, so that we can have cool twisty roads everywhere, and that it will kind of place them intelligently. The level design guys, they've been working on a gameplay pass for the room system for Levski to ensure that the players won't suffocate in random places. They are now working on Hurston's landing zone, Lawville, which is the next hero landing zone that they'll be building out. The QA guys have been busy testing 3.0, but also subsumption, gravity, elevators and more. The system design guys have been testing out Levski with a full AI population, or huge amounts of AI, and tweaking behaviours to avoid overcrowding in areas. They've been working out how they can make it as full as possible, as well stress testing servers with max AI populations to make sure they can get the best possible performance and what's kind of supported, and test that out and see that there, as well as trying to optimize it for the future. There's been more work on scenes for Squadron 42 with VFX and the cinematics guys, and they're working on the render to texture displays and holographic rendering, so we can see some cool 2D and holographic rendered displays. Lighting have been focusing on finishing touches for 3.0 with color grading for moons, moonlighting and various polish, and there's been various polish to systems and environments for the persistent universe in 3.0. They've also added new areas and locations to Levski, a new shop and an admin office, as well as doing a final pass on garages there. Now they are working on ArcCorp, Hurston and procedural cities, or at least looking at the R&D for them. Let's take a look at what the LA studio have been focusing on over the last few weeks. They finished the refactor on their persistent data manager, which handles how data is stored, modified and accessed in the game. This allows them to distinguish between physical and legal ownership from players. This is an important part of reputation, the outlaw status, persistence, and spawning systems. It also allows for ships to be docked inside another ship, and for that to also be persistent, which is going to be important when parking ships in ships. Further work has been made on the cargo placement with cargo grids. They've also got some cool cargo explosion debris generation, where cargo explodes out of your ship when your ship explodes, and then obviously pirates can come in and grab it. Players can sell cargo to a shop, have their cargo and purchases affect the shop's inventories and price and availability of items in the verse. So there is going to be some form of slightly dynamic economy. They have improved the gravity lev system for the hovering ground vehicles, the Nox and the Dragonfly currently, which were dragging on the ground but are now hovering more as intended. They've been working on simulations for liquids and environmental effects. So the liquid inside Miles Eckhart's glass, for example, reacts based on his movements during the animations he makes. Landing gear will now react with shock absorbers, and the landing gear actually shock absorbs based on gravity and the terrain and how aggressive you land. This should be pretty cool in Alpha 3.0. They've also improved several tools around the studios, as well as implementing some Lumberyard's latest updates and bug fixes. They kind of cherry pick those Lumberyard updates and phase them in if they need them, or if they think they're appropriate. All of the ships from Alpha 3.0 have been converted over to Item System 2.0, now meaning that no more ship refactors for Items 2.0. All ships will be built Item 2.0 ready in the future. They are testing the new quantum travel system, new planetary missions, and new Moby-Glass design as well. The Anvil Hurricane has entered the whiteboxing phase, and they are laying out various sections of the ship, getting a feel for how they want it to look and perform in game. Work on some Squadron 42 stuff, the Bridge Officer uniforms, a Shuban combat flight suit, and the Outlaw combat flight suits. They are entering various phases of modelling and texturing. There's a medical corpsman, an in-game, that's going into the in-game modelling phase, and various costumes for NPCs at Levski have been completed. Tattoos for character customization are being worked on. They've got some more concepts for shipjacker outlaws, NPCs. They've been working on battle damage for costumes used by NPCs as well, and they've been updating the Moby-Glass bracelet design so it's more sleek and fits on the characters correctly, and it's more futuristic. What have the Austin studio been up to getting ready for 3.0 over the last few weeks? They've had a first pass with kiosks and commodity trading. They're putting items into shop inventories all ready for 3.0. They've been focused on getting shops related to the persistent universe and other landing zones functional. They're also getting those updated, and a pass of the Area 18 shops as well now. Armour is purchasable and equipable piece by piece as well now. Remaining ships have been implemented into Price Fixer. This works out the value of a ship, components, its insurance, value and timings, and was going to be used in 3.0 to see what ships need to be tweaked both stats and value-wise. Miles Eckhart has received even more work and polish, getting him ready. They've been using feather blending to merge animations, actions, and voice lines all together. There's a lot going on, and they try to make everything look as natural as possible, and lots of animations can happen and things can interrupt him and that sort of stuff. He has received additional code as well to support and allow reputation to dictate his conversation paths and missions that he will give to a player. They have pretty much completed the Cutlass Black and moved on to the white box meshes and materials for the Cutlass Red and Blue variants. Once the first pass on the exterior for those variants has been done, they will then go on to the Constellation Phoenix, and that's going to be getting the rework. They are also fixing some issues with the Hornets and the Constellation Andromeda, and then they're going to be doing a Constellation Aquila promo video soon. Back-end services are preparing for the deployment of Diffusion. The game servers now have full access to the Diffusion API, and they're going to start using it with the shopping services in 3.0. They're also converting services down into mini-services, so they're converting the Persistent Cache and General Instance Manager into smaller, stateless, diffusionized services, allowing better performance and scalability. The PU animation team are working on implementation of the NPC wildline system, combined with feather blending, allowing them to blend performance capture and NPC's dialogue with a huge number of other animations, and it will all feel natural, and it will all be interruptible, and it will react to players. They're also filling in gaps in the missing performance capture from their original stuff, so they've got better transition animations as well now. They are continuing to work on cockpit and turret experience, implementing button presses using the Item System 2.0 in cockpits, and generally making gun turrets in cockpits and that sort of stuff feel better. And they've been finalising the dashboard metrics across the ships that use the same cockpit types as well. DevOps have been increasing the capacity of their build and deployment pipelines in preparation for Alpha 3.0 going online, and support for the Delta Patcher has also continued. They have completed another major upgrade to the Austin network. Basically, they've got some more hardware in there, so they can get deliver more builds in parallel is the idea there. They've been working on derelict crash site sounds for different moon environments, spaceship debris noises, and ship emergency states. QA have been testing the reworked Cutlass Black, various Alpha 3.0 gameplay, gravity, freefall mechanics, the Moby Glass, missions and the mission manager, large-scale playtests, and testing all of the ships with Item System 2.0. And the stamina and breathing system is also getting some changes and some balance as well. And they've also expanded the player relation team there with 4 new staff members. Let's talk about what Foundry 42 UK have been up to over the last few weeks. The Eclipse stealth ship is having some work done to it, more specifically the torpedo bay, entry ladder, cockpit and flight mode variations. On the concept side as well, they've finished off the Cyclone and they're now working on this 600i with the exterior being fleshed out and has had some interior work done to it as well. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the 600i concept sale. I believe that will probably be towards Gamescom end of August. They've made lots of progress with various Vandal ships. The grey box of the Void Bomber is complete, as well as the Blade now receiving some refinement as well. The Reclaimer is now on its optimization and levels of detail pass phase. So the tech designer also working on the setup of that ship now. The hull sea exterior has nearly completed its detail pass and will be moving on to its levels of detail and damage setup. There's 2 new ships and a personal transport vehicle that they're being worked on too, and we will find out more about them in the future. The graphics guys there, they've been working on the second viewports and the render to texture stuff, focusing more on video comms for that at the moment. The sun shadow system is also being improved to cope with extreme ranges on shadows for planets and moons. For example, a sunset could cast a shadow that can stretch 10 kilometers or more. So they're working on optimizing that, making it look as best as it can, but also make sure it's not too resource intensive. There's been more work on volumetric rendering too for creating cool gas clouds at any scale, and that they're going to look amazing. That's the idea with the volumetric rendering stuff. They want to do cool stuff with the Crusader. There's also been improvements and additions to the GPU particle system. They keep adding more and more effects and VFX and features to that, as well as performance boosts. A huge range of locations have had their final polish in preparation for Alpha 3.0's launch. Also, outpost integration, branding, shaderware, and all that sort of stuff, and all the objects that are going to appear on planets. Spacescaping with dust clouds look and feel looking as best as they can, making space feel more visually appealing with asteroids and better ambience and lots of little tweaks there. There's been lots of optimization for memory usage and general performance boosts. Hurston and Orison's landing zones and gameplay are receiving work too. They are building the new hero landing zones out for the Stanton system. Various work on Squadron 42 missions and levels, including Shuben, are all being polished and wrapped up and that sort of stuff. Weapons have been working on the ship scattergun, the laser repeaters, neutron repeaters, as well as some FPS weapons, the Gemini pistol, the H-29, optics for weapons, as well as the Kastak Arms SMG has also been receiving some work. There have been various improvements to the VFX style of energy weapons as well. Animations are finishing off all the animations that they need, or have finished off all the animations they need for the 3.0 mission givers, and are now refining Miles Eckhart's hand gestures, as well as working to refine further knife takedowns and AI combat. We're going to see a greater range of ages and ethnic groups as well, as they add more scans to their head database. Tech Animation have had a new control app for Maya, improving the workflow there, working with props as well. They've made glass assets and a physics solution for liquids, so it's cost-effective resource-wise. Older tools are also getting some updates and optimization. CIG are very, and Foundry 42 are very tool-centric, long-term thinking of the project, and they want to get these pipelines and workflows done as efficiently as possible. They've also continued to work on their database, huge database of mocap animations for Squadron 42 and the Persistent Universe. On-foot animations and speeds have been worked out to make them feel good for players and NPCs. We're going to be using the mouse wheel when we're running around to adjust our speed fluidly, so from walk to run to jog, all that sort of jazz. NPC gestures and wild lines have received work, so they will glance at you or contextually interact with you as you pass and approach them in an appropriate immersive fashion. Also, player versus player versions of the bounty hunter missions have been completed with proper code systems and set up there. Let's check out what the Turbulence studio have been doing. They're doing the website and stats page, so they are updating the website with a much more in-depth stats page for all of the ships. They're updating the ship specifications in the database, as well as getting ground vehicles in there at the moment. The new stats will show all of the hard points available for each ship or vehicle, including quantum drives, fuel tanks, and much, much more, as well as being accurate to what the ships actually have and can do. Weapons are going to be size 1 to 12, but there's going to be a new sizing scheme for ships and components that aren't weapons, with small, medium and large. I also believe that there's going to be vehicle size components as well, which are smaller than ship small components, and capital components, which are larger than large, but don't 100% quote me on that, because that's what I believe the current plan is. This update to the stats will allow for more accurate comparisons between ships, roles, capabilities, and for it all to be much more clearly defined what ships actually do and what they're supposed to be showing us. And we're going to start to see more in-depth components and items and stuff being shown on that stats page. Spectrum, so version 3.3.6 has gone to the Evocati and has various features added, including a new text editor, hyperlink formatting, preview posts and drafts, as well as mini profiles with Reddit-style karma. The Delta Patcher, so they are working on getting the new launcher and Delta Patcher, which is bundled together, obviously, working. They've updated the visuals for that launcher and have been working on digital distribution channels. This looks like the final stages of the Delta Patcher, and it should still be released with Alpha 3.0. Some other major headlines that we learnt during the month: they've reiterated again that the Delta Patcher is confirmed coming with 3.0. There was an article from GameStar where they talked about 5 to 10 solar systems being ready on release. This was lost in translation. There are no plans to change the scope of the Star Citizen universe, so they've got plans for 100 to 120 systems. Expect maybe 50 systems at launch, that sort of stuff. That's my expectation. Around the Verse every week has now changed slightly in the short term. They're going to have a segment that focuses on 3.0's progress and development, as well as a deep dive on a particular feature instead of the normal studio updates. This is until 3.0 is released, and then ATV will go back to its original normal thing with the studio updates. They've also confirmed that in Alpha 3.0, ships, players and cargo will all be persistent. You'll be able to log out and then back in, and wherever you were and wherever your ship was and whatever cargo it had in it will still be there. Ships and vehicles will also now be lockable, giving us our first defense from ships being stolen, but there's a more evolved insurance and criminality system with 3.0 as well, meaning that there is a clear definition between physical and legal ownership, and you can have your ship stolen, and that will persist with that player until it gets destroyed in that case, but you'll be able to claim back your insurance, your ship, and that sort of stuff as well. The Tumble Cyclone was on concept sale as well. This is our first land vehicle that had some anti-air potential as one of its variants, and there's going to be a whole host of ground vehicles in the future, tanks, more as well. The next concept sale should be the Origin Jumpworks 600i luxury ship, which I suspect will be going on sale around Gamescom time at the end of August. Every month we give away a ship. For August, it's a Nox Q. All you need to do is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my Star Citizen videos during that month. So do you have any questions about the monthly report, or about concept sales, or about anything Star Citizen or Alpha 3.0 related, or for me, a special thank you to my Patreons who allow me every month to create the amount of content that I do. If you're interested in becoming one of them, there is a link to Patreon below, as well as everything else we've talked about. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help me, and I will see you in the verse.